Hey everyone, me Kevin here with a stimulus update on the latest going on, and we'll also go through some Q&A. There have been multiple questions about stimulus checks, EIDL grants, a lot of good stuff. We're gonna go through everything that I can right here. Remember, a lot of these questions come straight from Discord. You could ask your questions there totally for free. It's way less spammy than like the YouTube live chat. Oh my gosh. But anyway, check that out. Go to metkevin.com/Discord. Great group of people there. Anyway, let's get started. First, the House of Representatives will hold a very important vote today to elect the Speaker of House. Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of House, is obviously a proponent of larger future stimulus. Right now, though, Pelosi is facing very thin margins, and here's how the process works. Today, the House of Representatives, the representatives themselves, will enter the House to hold a vote for the Speaker of House. Nancy Pelosi needs 216 votes to get a majority. However, there are 211 Republicans and 224 Democrats voting today, with 2 vacancies and a few out for COVID reasons. If a few Democrats decide to vote present or to vote for someone else, Pelosi's threshold will change. That is the amount of votes that she needs to win, and the odds of her winning the speakership goes down. Pelosi has very little room to lose votes here. If she doesn't win the majority, then we go into runoff elections until somebody else gets a majority. This hasn't happened until since 1923, but hey, neither has a pandemic since the 1920s. So the 20s here are all about breaking records. And what's interesting about this is it ties together with the Georgia runoff election on January 5th. See, right now we've had a flip in the Georgia runoff election, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, but if Republicans maintain control of the Senate, and then we have some crazy runoff elections in the House on speakership, we could have a really interesting dynamic. Do we actually think we're going to see a Kevin McCarthy, a Republican House Speaker with a Republican minority? It's possible. It is possible. You could have a Kevin McCarthy Speaker, even though he's technically not part of the leading party. It'd be odd, it'd be weird, but hey, weirder things have happened. Now, obviously, it's probable that we're going to have a Nancy Pelosi Speaker of the House, but it's going to be a vote to pay attention to. We'll see what happens, especially if it goes into runoff territory. And see, this is where things get really interesting too, because look at the Georgia elections here on screen. This is big, okay? I want to point out, you see this kind of crisscross right here, where we had the Republican, the red line, in the lead, and then all of a sudden the blue line took over, the Democrat. You know what happened there? That was the 23rd of December. That was when this is the period of time here where Donald Trump said we need $2,000 checks, and Mitch McConnell is causing issues preventing the $2,000 checks. That one thing there is being partially credited for why Democrats are suddenly leading in a spot where Perdue, the Republican, was way ahead. Remember, if Democrats win here, if Nancy gets the speakership, which she probably will, and Democrats end up winning on January 5th, that could be a big change for stimulus coming, but it'll also be a risk factor for the stock market. Some in the stock market say the stock market could sell off substantially. But wait, Democrats need to win both. They need to win both seats. So let's look at the second seat. Oh, snap. The same kind of sort of spread happened after Donald Trump's demand for the $2,000 checks. The Republican lost his leadership, and the Democrat is now leading. Now, don't get me wrong. These are polls, and we all know that polls are, that poll says this, that poll says this. So all this means is we got to pay attention, but there was definitely a switch after that $2,000 check demand. All right, let's do some Q&A now. All right, so regarding the second stimulus check, we've got L. Gray Bush here wondering, I filed 2018 but didn't file 2019. I'm being told we could still receive the stimulus based on 18. However, I would like to know for sure. I can't find any documentation regarding this. Well, we have a letter from the Kiplinger. And unfortunately, the Kiplinger letter, it's a pretty good financial publication here. They say that for your second stimulus check, only the 2019 tax returns are going to be considered. This is a little bit of an issue for somebody in your situation where you filed your 2018, you didn't file your 2019. This means you're going to have to file your 2019 to claim your stimulus check. Now, is it possible that for some reason your check might still come through? Who knows? Maybe. But right now, it looks like you're going to have to get your next tax return, your 2019 tax return, filed. Now, quick note, there are circumstances where you do not actually have to file a tax return, but generally not filing a tax return is illegal. You get penalized. You typically have to file a tax return every year. If for some reason you met a criteria where you did not have to file your 2019 tax return, then file your 2020 tax return to claim your stimulus check here in 2021. When tax refund time comes around. By the way, if you like getting free things, make sure you deposit $100 with Webull, because if you do, they will give you $21 in free stocks, up to $1,600 in free stocks. You kind of get entered into this lottery where you get at least $21, but up to $1,600 in free stocks. Just make sure you deposit the $100. When that clears, you get your bigger free stocks. Super exciting, and hope to see you in the Webull community. We'll also talk a lot about EIDL, and we'll talk some more about stimulus checks and rental relief and that in just a moment. Now, here's a question. If I'm a single member LLC and don't pay myself payroll taxes on my tax form, but have transfers from my business checking account to my personal account, can I qualify for a PPP, and is this legally risky? In the case they cross-check my tax return to verify that I actually paid myself payroll. So first of all, I just want to say, before we read Maxim's parts of Maxim's reply here, what's very important to remember is the banks are trying to get you the PPP loan. So when you are in doubt, apply for the PPP. The banks want to give you the PPP money as long as the banks do reasonable diligence to help you fit in the box. The banks aren't trying to screw you out of this here, because the banks get good bank fees and no risk. It is a dream loan for the banks to do, and the banks are told by the Treasury Department, get these people the loans, help them, make them fit the box. So while we can go into like the granular details of this, and Maxim's got some great recommendations. For example, I love this one. He says, for the PPP, I created my own spreadsheet showing my income and then providing supporting evidence for each line item, and you were able to get approved, no problem. This goes to show that honestly, if you're a sole proprietor, if you've got 1099 income, you can make your life relatively easy by just applying and doing your best to try to provide answers. And so I really appreciated Maxim's reply there. So when in doubt, apply. And he's right. He says a good bookkeeper is crucial. Absolutely true. Good bookkeeping is very, very useful. Now, I will say, if you are a 1099 employee, a 1099 recipient, so you're not really an employee, right? So I shouldn't have said that. If you receive a 1099 and you want to apply for the PPP, there are some law offices that actually say you could take your 1099, being a realtor or Uber driver or whatever, you could use your income on the 1099 and apply for the PPP, and you don't even have to show expenses. So, if you are in doubt about applying for the PPP, folks, do it. So many of you are 1099 gig workers or realtors or whatever, hairstyles. Apply. It's literally free money. You care about the stimulus check and you're not taking the PPP, you're upside down. Like, even though it sounds like, oh my gosh, I got to apply for something, get ready. We should have some more guidance on January 6th. It's not clear yet what guidance we're going to get on January 6th, but stay tuned. We should get some. Okay, let's now talk EIDL. So first things first, I'm going to talk about what's on screen here, but I do want to also just quickly mention, look, there is so much confusion right now about the legalese, about whether or not we can get the full $10,000 checks from the EIDL or not. Remember, you either applied and got your $1,000 per employee, or you didn't apply yet and you are self-employed and have the opportunity to apply to get your $1,000 for yourself, or $2,000 if it's you and your spouse working together, or whatever, up to $10,000, right? And there's so much debate right now about, are we going to get the full $10,000? Let's just be crystal clear here. Congress said we were supposed to get $10,000. Congress wants a full $10,000. Unfortunately, the language in the new bill, and I dove deep into this yesterday and nothing's changed even after I've read it again. I've gone deep into the language in the bill. The language in the bill gives the SBA plenty of loopholes to say we're not going to give people the 10K. Unfortunately, Congress only specifically said, if you are a low-income individual and you've had an economic loss of 30%, you get the EIDL up to $10,000. Now, technically, the SBA shall give us up to $10,000 or up to the amount that we requested. But the SBA could simply loophole and go, well, we're not going to allow you to request more than a certain number. So the point is right now, if you are on the sidelines wondering, am I going to get my full $10,000 for the EIDL? If you are in a low-income community and you had a 30% loss, the answer is yes. If you've gotten your previous $1,000 or you are a new applicant, can you get your full $10,000? We don't know yet. It's all going to be dependent on how the SBA interprets the law. We can kick and scream all day long on YouTube, but the SBA is going to be the one that says, this is how we interpret the law. I'm kind of 40-60 on this. I'm 40% that we're going to get the full 10K if you're not low income, and I'm like 60% of maybe the SBA will do the right thing because it should be 10K per person. But it's all going to be down to the SBA doing their interpretations, and based on the verbiage they got plenty of loopholes. So it's up in the air right now. Now, this right here that you see on screen, this is somebody who was given a loan offer from the SBA. When you previously applied to get an SBA EIDL grant, you were given two choices. Well, sometimes you actually weren't even given two choices. You're supposed to fill out the form. It's the loan application. Then you get an offer. Here's your grant, your advance, either $1,000 to $10,000. And then here's your loan. Do you want to accept the loan? You do not have to take the loan to get the grant. So when you see choose a loan amount, you do not have to take this. You have to repay this. If you take the loan with an interest rate and a monthly payment, you will have to pay this back. However, if you deny the loan, you should still be eligible for the grant. And if you didn't get your grant this time around, stay tuned. Hopefully, when guidance comes out in the next week and the application portal opens back up for the grants, because it's not open right now, great, we'll know more. So basically, bottom line, if you're thinking about the EIDL grant, just wait. See, here's another question. What if you applied for the EIDL after the advance was no longer available? Wait. The only thing we could do right now is say, don't get your hopes up on the EIDL that it's going to be a full 10K. I would love it to be. I'm right there with you. I want it to be the 10K. But if you need to apply again, stay tuned. Let's get the guidance. The application is not out right now. You can apply for the loan right now, but there's no point to do that because the grants aren't available. All right, next question here. Can I claim the first and second stimulus check on our tax returns this year if we had a baby last year? Thanks in advance. Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. If you have a new dependent with a social security number, or had a new child in 2019, or had a child before, or had a child before 2020, or you had a child in 2020. The point is, if you had a child anytime before 2021, so unless you had a baby in the last few days here, and you didn't get a stimulus check for them, but you qualified for the stimulus check, you will be able to claim that on your 2020 tax return. Now, if you are 19 and you were a dependent when the stimulus checks came out, but then you file as an independent as for your 2020 taxes, yes, you will then be considered an independent for the year of 2020, and you will get your stimulus check when you file your taxes as an independent. You can do that. Now, keep in mind, your parents might lose some benefits for claiming you as a dependent, so you have to weigh that out. Is it worth it? Is it worth getting the $1,800 versus whatever your parents would get as a benefit? So you have to determine that. So they're going to lose some credits for not claiming you. Potentially, depends on their income. So let's see, student loans in default. Will they garnish your stimulus check if you have student loans in default? The answer is no, they will not. Not for the second stimulus check. Yes, California benefits have been suspended for many people. This is frustrating. The EDD, the Employee Development Department in California, sucks. There's really nothing we can do except waiting until the 6th to get more guidance. They shut a lot of people out due to fraud, but it's California. It sucks. Anyway, so if I didn't file my 2019 taxes, but I did file 2018 and did receive a stimulus check during the last stimulus release, should I still get the stimulus check this time around? So this is just like the question that we got where the Kiplinger responded and said no. They're not looking at 2018 tax returns anymore. Now, is it possible that the IRS changes their mind and still provides them? Yes. But for right now, I would say that is a probable no. We'll see, though. Again, here's that form again. Moving on. I've got $600 for myself pending to hit my account on Monday. However, I do not have a pending payment on my account for my 5-year-old son. The same thing happened last time. So the IRS probably doesn't have a social security number for your son. A lot of people put dependents on their tax returns, and they don't put a social security number in for that dependent. If there's no social security number in for that dependent, you won't get a stimulus check. You wouldn't have gotten it the last time. Like in your situation, you won't get it this time. You'll have to claim it when you file your 2020 tax return coming up here in April. Now, okay, we answered this one. Okay, lost my job because of COVID and used forbearance for my house. It's up on 1/31/2021. Any other programs that can help me out? So, Illegal Sins here mentioned that he applied when the program first became available, which would have been like after March 27th, probably closer to like the middle of April last year. You should be able to have up to a full year forbearance. So I would get the CARES Act out. Yeah, you could look at go to my video, metkevin.com/forbearance. You could watch that video when I show you the sections of the CARES Act. You are eligible for up to 360 days as long as you have a federally backed loan. If you don't have a federally backed loan, you're going to have to work with that servicer. If you do have a federally backed loan, you're going to have to work with that lender anyway to determine, hey, what are my options? So ultimately, there might be local housing assistance programs you could look into, like Google your Community Development Corporation for whatever county you're in, like Ventura County Community Development Corporation. See if there are support options in local communities like that. But you should still have options for forbearance to extend that period. All right, next question. I started forbearance as soon as it was available in March. Some of the best financial advice I've ever followed through on. Thanks, Kevin. Now, that's a really nice comment. Now, one of the things that I think is so great about forbearance is that unless you have any plans to refinance or sell or buy other real estate anytime soon, you really kick the can down the road of paying 12 months of finance or 12 months of payments for, 12 months or potentially even longer. You could kick that down the road 15, 20 years if you don't refinance or sell, as long as you have a federally backed loan and they can add that to the back of the loan, which they can with like FHA or conventional loans. VA is a little trickier. VA, they have stricter repayment requirements. But yeah, I mean, you could invest that money in the meantime. I mean, why not? It's even better than a stimulus check. So there's a total update, all the Q&A that I could put together here. So if you have more questions, go to metkevin.com/discord, ask your questions. Thank you so much for watching, and folks, we'll see you in the next video.